In the midst of a savage winter, in the darkest depths of the Welsh countryside, there is a group of people prepared to brave more than just the elements. Men and women who combat their fears and brace against the worst that Mother Nature can throw at them. A group of people with the desire to unearth a hidden history, a history buried deep under the Holcombe Mountain in North Wales. These are the members of UCET, the United Cavers Exploration Team. Lead ore was first mined on the Holcombe Mountain in Roman times and was smelted at nearby Flint. By the 17th century, an intensive period of lead mining had begun, drawing interest and investment from the London Lead Company as well as various Derbyshire mining entrepreneurs. Shortly after, new rich veins were discovered, and these were quickly exploited, bringing a large number of skilled miners, especially from Derbyshire, to live in the nearby villages. Mining finally ceased on the Holcombe in the 1970s. Several months ago, UCET members learned of the existence of an ancient lead mine on the Holcombe Mountain. An entrance known as Pearl Shaft, which had been lost for countless years, was discovered under a huge boulder on a patch of farming land. After obtaining permission to excavate, they uncovered the ancient shaft and fitted a secure steel lid to make safe the entrance. This is the story of what lies below. It's a freezing December night when the team meet up. After kitting themselves up with the equipment needed to enter the mine, they make their way across the frozen fields to the entrance cover. In the UK, the subterranean temperature is always around 6 degrees centigrade, whilst outside on this bitter night, the temperature is well below freezing. Opening the lid, the relatively warm, moist air inside the mine rushes up out of the shaft. Almost immediately it condenses into a foggy mist as it mixes with the sub-zero outside atmosphere. Working their way one at a time down a specialist electron ladder, the UCET team feel the relative warmth in the shaft some 10 degrees warmer than that outside. A light dusting of snow from the surface helps cool one explorer as he makes the descent, whilst outside the shaft, the team do all they can to keep warm. Moving down the ladder is a hazardous task. The 80-foot sheer drop could be fatal. After the first electron ladder, the team have fitted the shaft with a series of aluminium ladders, lashed into place and making progress in the lower portion of the shaft both easier and safer. Slowly but surely, one after another, all of the team make their way to the bottom of the shaft. They pass on through an initial walkway into a catacomb of small tunnels. Working their way down through this rabbit warren, the UCET team progress has previously been cut short by a series of collapses. Nobody knows exactly how far back this shaft and workings actually date, and much of the ground is highly unstable. Nevertheless, the team have completed back-breaking work to shore up and dig through various collapsed sections, slowly but surely making holes just big enough to squeeze through in order to gain access into the deeper reaches of the mine. Working to clear these relatively small falls of earth and rock with bare hands and basic tools makes it clear just how hard ancient man had to work in the same conditions. One very obvious problem is where to put the deads, the lump of waste rock removed during excavations. Obviously, to transport all of this back up out of the mine would require a huge amount of work. Most miners would have been paid based on the production of lead they produced. They wouldn't want to be wasting their precious time and energy shifting endless pieces of rock out of the mine by hand. So at the risk of injury to themselves, they came up with ingenious ways of stacking these deads, which today make for amazing sights. Far removed from the modern concept of health and safety, the deads were positioned in precarious locations throughout the mine, more often than not wedged in spaces directly above the miners' heads. Much of the mine appears to follow the natural rifts of caves, carved out over millions of years through the Welsh limestone. The slightly acidic rainwater eating through the limestone to create a network of voids which the miners exploited to assist with access from one rich lead vein to the next. Often these natural voids form high subterranean cliffs, requiring great care to navigate safely. It is often into these natural voids that deads are stacked, forming precarious arches which often appear to defy the forces of gravity. Moving through the ancient workings requires a huge degree of care. A slight movement of just one small piece of rock could set off a chain reaction, collapsing rock down onto the team, entombing them forever in the blackness. Further and deeper into the mine, the team come across a cavern with a large vertical natural shaft dropping from above. At some time in history, two huge boulders, each the size of a small car, have come tumbling down the shaft together, and against all odds have become jammed with a smaller boulder that must have been falling at the same time. Merely standing at the bottom of this shaft to film this spectacle presents a huge risk, and it's little wonder that neither Ancient Man nor the UCET team have yet attempted to scale the shaft. However, the UCET team has plans to try to dislodge the boulders such that they could be dropped in a controlled manner. Who knows what evils may be awaiting further up the shaft out of sight? Could those loose boulders be followed by others? Dropping further down into the mine, the team enter a small chamber with a number of tunnels leading off. One of these tunnels abruptly opening into the side of a huge vertical surface shaft known as Tree Stump Shaft. Although the top of the shaft has been capped, the huge vertical tube still very much exists when viewed from below. Returning to the previous chamber, the way on becomes obvious, although with it the hazards become all the greater. While some of the team take refreshments from a small trickle of water that filters down through the rocks, the rest of the team investigate a small hole in the floor which drops down under a huge stack of deads, stacked for many metres directly above it against a loose and unstable mud bank. The way on requires the team to drop through this hole, feet first, immediately into a sitting position, and then wriggling down until lying flat on their backs, without so much as laying a finger on the unstable rocks poised ready to collapse on them. Slowly and with a huge degree of care, the team move through one by one, each fearing for their own safety and wholly aware that one false move would crush and trap both themselves and the other members of the team in front of them. Once on the other side, the extent of the danger is all too apparent. The huge rock just millimetres from their kneecaps as they slid through the tiny hole appears to be completely free hanging with no obvious support. Above it is the weight of several tons of loose stone and earth. The team moves swiftly on, under yet more precarious stacks of deads, to reach an ancient rope ladder. The rungs appear to be rotten, but the ropes themselves appear to have some strength left in them. Carefully moving down a 70-degree pitch, the team try to place minimal load on the ancient ropes, and instead try to transfer their weight onto the rock itself, wedging their bodies between the rocky walls, while still being very aware of the loose rock around them. Crawling onwards, they come across what appears to be another shaft. This time there's a collapse, with evidence of farm waste being washed down to fill the void. The tunnel shows the marks of drills, where the rock has been drilled to allow explosive charges to be placed. The drill marks seem to be coming towards the team, suggesting that the original entrance was from the opposite direction. Could this mean that the treacherous section that just passed through was not actually an original passage? After all, why would man stack so many deads over such a small awkward crawl space? Are the team actually now in a completely separate mine, which at some time subsequent to this shaft being dug was linked to the previous older workings? Moving further into the mine, a tight natural rift in the rock has been rigged with a rope which could just about be squeezed through to make a connection with a lower series of larger and potentially newer tunnels with evidence of flooded chambers below. But for today, the team need to head back the way they've come. As the team start the long journey back, they discuss their plans to continue their exploration of the lower sections, in the hope that one day they will link with one of the other open shafts in the area. They take note of the potential dig sites that litter the route back, many of which show promise of further mine workings or areas of natural cave. They consider ways in which the huge wedge boulders can be safely dropped from their position in the huge natural shaft. The desire to investigate that route has a powerful draw. One by one the team make their way back up and out, often hauling themselves up near vertical inclines before eventually reaching the ladders and exiting into the freezing winter air. The elation of getting out safely is obvious. Travelling homewards on a freezing cold night, the team have time to consider. What draws them to these places? hidden mysteries, sometimes lost in time, sometimes totally undiscovered by man at all. Man's natural instinct to face fear head on, to explore and to discover. Explore and discover. The motto that the UCET team lived by. After all, what is life if not to live? Up against your will.